Hello! Welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me as Skeindeer also on Ravelry and Instagram. And there's also the Ravelry group Skeindeer Knits, where we're still doing the Mitten KAL. It's gonna be over by the 31st of March, so just pop over there and see what the fuss is all about. But yeah, there's still time to cast on if you still want to have a go at it. It's been helping lots of people knit their very first colourwork mittens, so that's just super exciting. Welcome to my podcast. Welcome back to those of you who have been following me for a great while, and huge welcome to those of you who are new, because there are quite many of you this week. I have been quite shocked to see how my subscriber count have just been skyrocketing. I've not really been following it that closely since we hit the magical 1,000 mark, so it's been a lot given that I have noticed, so welcome. In case you didn't already know, this is a very sort of old school podcast. I am a very traditionally focused knitter. This is not the usual sort of vanilla sock, hand-dyed yarn, Stephen West shawl kind of podcast. I mean, we might see some of that as well, of course. There is a hand-dyed yarn shawl right over there. But generally, I like to focus on colour work. I'm from Norway, so that's just kind of my angle. I very much am motivated as a knitter from, I guess, my heritage, and also just living in London. I kind of want to have something Norwegian with me. Does that sound a bit silly? So yeah, welcome, and I'm so glad you want to join me on board for that little adventure. Now, this podcast is not usually me like trying to push my products. I don't really have any, but I have been sort of dabbling into design lately, and so I really want to open this episode by announcing that my sock design is out. It is out today, and this is the sock in question. And I know what you're thinking, Ellie, are you selling us a sock pattern in which you only knitted one sock? No, I have knitted a pair, but I gifted it away right away for Christmas for a friend of mine, and so I figured I need to knit another pair just to show you how they knit up, and also to try out different methods and different colors. So there are a few things that are very special to these socks that you might not find with other colourwork sock patterns out there. The thing about this sock is that it lends itself to the kind of sock knitting preferences a lot of knitters have that varies from knitter to knitter. So, you know, if you follow a few knitting podcasts, you will see that many have different preferences for their heels, toes and cuffs. And now this is a toe up sock pattern. I am using the magical cast on, but if you have any other preferred toe up method, that's totally up to you. And the heel is a German short rose heel, but I'm strongly recommending using the Fish Lips Kiss heel. So you can use any short rose heel that you like. You can use an afterthought heel. As for the cuff, I like a short 1x1 rib, that's just me, but you can totally use whichever rib you like. If you like a 2x2 rib, you can do that. If you like a twisted rib that's really, really long, you can do that. If you like a heel flapping gusset, even that is possible. I've not added instructions for that, but the thing is, this is a 4-panel sock, so the panel is repeating once on the top, once at the bottom, another time here, and another time here. So you can totally squeeze in a gusset between these two panels. To avoid long floats, I recommend doing alternating 1x1 contrast color, background color, and these will change depending on which section of the chart you're doing. So yeah, I said this is a toe up pattern, and if you don't like toe up, don't worry, it's super easy to modify to a bottom down. You literally, instead of reading from the conventional bottom right corner of the chart, you read from the top left. And then you do whichever cuff and heel and toe that you prefer. But yeah, the instructions will give you a magical cast on, German short rose, or recommending a Fish Lips Kiss heel and a fairly short cuff. But the unique feature about this sock, in addition to that, is that they are made for colouring in the chart. So there's a chart there, well, there's several charts actually. There's one that's simply coloured in accordance with the socks that I have knitted. So there's one for the initial burgundy pair that I made first, and then there's this which is kind of the opposite colours in many ways. And that's quite normal. But the other chart is a chart that you can color in. This is something I picked up from very typical Norwegian knitting, because we often get charts that are not colored in, and they're also not grayscale. They are marked by symbols. So color A might be completely blank, but color B might be X's, and if there's another color, maybe that's a circle. I don't know. So I've tried doing that so that you can print it out and color it in whichever way you like. And there's also a printer-friendly chart that doesn't do that, but just, yeah, it's printer-friendly. So before you run over to the download page for this, if you really want to knit them, there is a discount, of course, for the first week. I'm just gonna have it until the end of the month. So by the 31st of March, that's the last day you could use the discount. And the discount is basically Skeindeer sock. In one word, no uppercase, Skeindeer sock. If there's any like reason why I can't have that name as a discount code for some reason, I will just put that here while I'm talking, because I haven't actually put the pattern out as I'm recording, because I want it to be out when this video is being published. So I've had test knitters on this, and they have chosen vastly different colors from what I have done, and it's all very exciting to see. So I'll include the pictures here, and they are also included on the pattern page on Ravelry. And I want to thank them all so much. They've been such a huge help and making me realize like where I am in terms of pattern writing, what I can do, what I should be clearer on. It's just been super helpful. Thank you all so much, and it's been so much fun seeing the colors that you have come up with, and I am very excited to see the colors that you guys out there will now use on this pattern. Now, one more thing about this pattern is that I asked on Instagram yesterday, I believe, so 2 days ago when this episode goes up, what name this should have. I had called these color-in socks, but I thought that's not very catchy. So I offered to give away this pattern for free to the person who came up with the best name. And there were so many good names. Like, I had a list of 7 favorites at the end, and it was quite difficult to choose. But there was one that really stuck out to me because it's the name of one of my favorite songs, and that's Color Your World. And the person who came up with that name was, I'm gonna get the name, Remembrance Pottery. So if you could get back to me on Ravelry, Remembrance Pottery, then I will gift you the pattern. Now, someone else came up with a very similar name just before Remembrance Pottery, which is Min74, and she said Color My World, and that's like close enough, so you can totally get the pattern as well. So just contact me on Ravelry, Min. But yeah, the name is Color Your World socks, because you can just color them whichever way you like. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna do for now. It's gonna go back to conventional podcasting style. I'm not trying to like sell anything to you or anything. But yeah, I'm just super excited to have this pattern out and very inspired to make more patterns. It's a bit slow for me because I am a full-time PhD student, so I shouldn't really be spending too much time on this. So that's like a spare time thing. It's not what I do professionally. But it's something I'm wanting to do more. So, and I have some ideas and projects and collabs in mind that might happen, and I will let you know when things are more in place and likely to come out. Okay, so it's the great reveal for my finished object this week, and that is my cardigan. It's my Sederstad kofte. Now, if you are new to this, which I know many of you are, although I will say, I just want to say that before I get into this, I have such an amazing like loyalty rate. I don't usually dwell into the statistics of YouTube, but my drop-off rate is super low. So some of you are actually like listening to me repeating myself time and time again, and I'm like super grateful that you are sticking up with it. But yeah, I want to explain what a kofte is. It is a Scandinavian color work cardigan. So I know they have the word kofte in Swedish as well, probably also in Danish, and yeah, it refers to this kind of cardigan. This is like the gold standard of a kofte. It's often sometimes also just applied to any cardigan, but this is a true kofte. It's a loose kofte, and the reason why it's called a loose kofte is because these little spots, they're called loose, which is lice. However, if you knit them top down, it is fleece. So yeah, I'm gonna cover the construction method that I did in a bit, but let's just try it out. So I'm gonna put it on, and you're just gonna get to watch me twirl around in it. And yeah, I posted this on Instagram the other day and the feedback I got was pretty remarkable. So thank you so much, everybody. It is such, oh, it's just so nice. So here we are, and it fits me like a glove. It truly does. It was like I was a tiny bit smaller when I cast this on 2 years ago in 2015. And, well, still fits, so pretty cool. So I just picked this UFO up, hoping to have it ready for Edinburgh. It was 99% done before Edinburgh, but unfortunately not quite. I keep like clasping it together like this because it doesn't have buttons yet, but once it's buttoned up, it will totally fit fine. I'm not in a hurry about adding buttons to it, so I still consider it a finished object, and I can totally just use a shawl pin to close it up. I can close this up just fine because it's getting really warm in London right now, so I'm not going to be buttoning up anytime soon anyway. But yeah, I'm looking for some like silvery, metallic, swirly looking buttons. I'm very close to the kind of traditional Norwegian cardigan buttons that I used. So yeah, time for the construction method, because this is a very conventional knit bottom up in the round Norwegian cardigan. That's not what I did though. So I cast on the yoke. This is, I've told so many of you this so many times. I cast on the yoke and I knit it up and put the neckline on needles, and then I put on the sleeves and knit them down. Now the thing I did was I divided the stitch count for the body. Now I put the sleeves aside, and the stitch count for the body was divided not 50-50 but 60-40. So there are far few stitches at the back, and as you can see, it fits super nice over my back. You don't usually get that little saggy bit at the back that you often get with knitwear. It has a very nice, just perfectly stretched outfit. It's not actually stretched, it's just like just right, and that's why it so easily overlaps at the front. I don't have to like do this, you know. So yeah, and I picked up the body and just knit it right down, and I stopped it way sooner than you're supposed to because it's not supposed to be cropped, but I like my cardigans cropped. And I just picked up the hem, and after I done this hem pattern, I did a knit two together yarn over, so I get this peacock looking edge, and knit this and sew this on the inside. And I did that with the sleeves as well. So the sleeves are actually a bit longer than it should be. Don't know why that is. I think I did the decreases a bit less frequent than I should have, but I quite like that. I like when they're kind of overlapping my hand just a little bit. I think that's lovely. And I steeked this live. You can see that in my Edinburgh episode, and I just wrapped up the steeks into these button bands, so they are completely invisible. And it doesn't matter that I didn't secure the steeks with crochet edge or sewing, nothing. It's just live knit stocking net stitches, and they are just wrapped up into these button bands that will have buttons at some point. And then at last I picked up the neckband during a virtual knit night, so I had good company, and just did the same thing that I did at the bottom. So we got this peacock looking edge as well. And look at those floats, you guys. I usually say a lady never exposes her floats, but kind of have to show these because they are looking quite sweet. So it is done, and it is done just in time for London being too warm to wear. I say that though, today is freezing. It is clouded and rainy and bitterly cold, so I guess I get to wear these for one day. So let's see how long I'm going to be wearing this for today, because I usually get quite hot when recording. But yeah, if you want to see more pictures and a little video of this cardigan, that's up on Instagram. So thank you so much for all the lovely feedback, and I just feel really happy and accomplished having finished a full-on colorwork garment, because I don't actually think I ever have. I just done colorwork for the yoke. And the thing about this lice pattern is that it's super simple. It looks very involved when you look at it this way, but the dots are only every 4th row and the dots are only every 4th stitch. So it's actually not as frequent as it looks, but it's, yeah, quite impressive looking. And I am proud and grateful for all your lovely feedback. Now, this is not the only finished object I have this week, because I cast on a project like 2 days ago that I finished last night, and it's a pair of mittens. and it's not actually a pair of colorwork mittens. It's one of my sort of New Year's resolution patterns, so they're still on the blockers. I'm gonna take them off now. But as some of you might know, Nordic Stitches podcast has a cal, that's the resolutions cal, where you write a list. So if you're entering in January, you write a list of 12 things that you want to knit in 2017. If you enter it in, I guess now it's too late, so you have to enter with as many months as there are left of the year. So I think now there are 9 months left, so you enter with that, and you kind of promise yourself that you will knit those patterns by the end of the year. And I have so far kept up with it. So the first month I believe I submitted the Shetland Woolly Cat, the Babble sheep hat, and then the second month I submitted the Find Your Fed shawl. And this month I realized I wasn't going to have anything, so I'm a bit like, oh, what do you knit? So before I get to show you the project, I want to show you my mitten blockers. So most of you, I don't have blockers for my mittens, so I just made them in foam board, and these make all my mittens look fantastic. Shape is a bit odd because I want the thumb to kind of get a bit extra space, but I don't want the cuff to like sneak up over here, so I just made a sharp edge. It doesn't usually make the mitten look funny though, even though the shape of the blocker is a bit odd. So this is our final project. I'm gonna show you. Hey, it's a lace mitten and another one. Oh, they're so pretty off the blockers. Oh my god. And this is made in Digilpin, Laland. I'm probably mispronouncing this from putting that here because it's a Scottish lamb's wool, and it's so delicious. I love lamb's wool. Like, if you're one of those super scratch sensitive who don't think you're ever gonna get on with any Shetland yarn or Norwegian yarn, Scottish lamb's wool, you guys, it's like luxurious cotton, but it still has that nice woolly feel that I appreciate. So we're gonna put the mittens on and see how they fit. And they do fit. The cuff's a bit loose even though I went down needle size, but it has a lovely fit. And I love actually how my nails are not showing at the top. First I was like, surely you could have just fitted this chart into the decrease of the top. But now I'm like, well, I'm wearing a kind of crazy nail polish color here. So I'd rather that didn't show actually. So this is really lovely. I put on the other one. Yay. Oh, they're so soft and so good. And oh, so designer is Wenche Roald, who I have mentioned before. She's a Norwegian designer, and she made these for the fairy tale mitten book. So these are called Snøhvit, which is Snow White. So they are, I guess, supposed to be knit in white, but I just happen to have grey yarn. So this is more of a sort of Cinderella Snow White. Okay. So just giving you a close-up. It's a nice leafy pattern here and a twisted rib, which was almost the end of me, but I persevered, and this is what we have. So I think I'm just kind of aiming for a box of mittens more so than a box of socks right now. Should have a cal for that, but for the time being I am submitting this to the Basket of Mitten cal by the Woolen Homestead. So, and also of course to the New Year's resolution cal by Nordic Stitches. Yeah, it's getting a bit warm now, I'm so sorry. I try to show off this cardigan for as long as I can, but I have to cave in because hot. So I didn't actually mention that. Oh my god, I knit this in Rauma Finul. It's the ultimate Norwegian yarn. Anything by Rauma really. That's pure wool and pure Norwegian. And it is really hot. It's a heavy fingering weight, but don't need anything thicker than this, to be honest. Wow, I am roasted. And actually it's been quite windy in London lately when I've been wearing this. And it's like almost windproof. It's pretty good. Now, how is my lovely leaf shawl going? I've not really put much of a dent in it. I did knit it a little bit when I was in a concert queue on Friday, so it has grown more so than last week. But it's going slower the second time around, you guys. I really wish I wouldn't have had to rip it out the first time, but that was all on me. I messed up, so it is going to look super lovely and be a nice warm thing to have around my shoulders, and I am looking forward to having it finished, but it just doesn't seem to be anytime soon. And I'm using Sølje by Hillesvåg, which is another one of those really ultimate Norwegian yarns, and it's a fur wool yarn, which is a odd blend of this really old Norwegian breed of sheep called Sparso and the Swedish Gotland sheep, which is the more, yeah, they're quite different, so it's interesting to have a blend that's quite hard and rustic but also has a lot of sheen. And yeah, so that's just going to be one of those works in progress I can easily take where I need to perhaps focus more on the conversation than the project. So I have suffered a bit from castanitis this week. It's not just been the snow white mittens. I have also knitted some colourwork mittens. They are not done, of course. We are in the works of progress section more so than the finished object section now. So yeah, colourwork mittens, you guys. They're leaving this bag, my lovely paper chase toiletry bag. I really love using pretty looking toiletry bags for my knitting projects. The same with the Marriott bag. It's not a project bag, but who says it's not really. So I got one mitten down, and it's also knit in the Roma Fino, same as my cardigan. And this is the Shine Mittens by Pia of the Kamebonia podcast, which is one of the loveliest knitting podcasts ever. Her knitting style is right up my alley, and I love these mittens. They are a strike of genius. I mean, what she's done is actually such a super simple idea. She's taken this traditional pattern repeat of the top and just slotted them into a traditional Scandinavian, very typical Norwegian as well, mitten design, where the palm is just alternating contrast and main color, and the gusset is your trusty old Selbu Mitten gusset. And she's done some Latvian braids in this lovely cuff here. I think the cuff is one of the most striking features of this mitten. It's gorgeous, and it's gonna look so much nicer when it's blocked out, because always the top bit for me is a bit wonky with these mittens, but yeah, it usually blocks out for me. I am having this weird issue though, and I mentioned this before, is that I often have to knit this bit a bit longer. And I don't know, is my thumb further, is it longer than most people, or is this like fleshy bit here not normal? Is this like something most people don't have? This like thing here that makes the hole have to be higher up? I'm starting to like question my basic anatomy right now. So I did that with these mittens as well. I just knitted some rows further up. Kind of wish I'd done some more before I made the thumb hole, and I don't know if it's my row gauge or my hand that's being weird. But yeah, I initially knit the cuff of these, realized I had done the color work wrong, and ripped out the whole thing. I did the cuff, was super happy with it. Did the mitten up to here and realized it was so tight. I really need to go above gauge with these. They are supposed to be knit at the 34 stitch gauge per 10 centimeters or 4 inches, but I need to stick to my trusty old 32 stitch gauge for mittens. That's my go-to gauge for all colorwork mittens, it seems, and that was the perfect fit. Even though it has slightly more stitches to it than the usual mittens I've made, it has just the best fit. And I did compare, because this pattern does not come with the full mitten chart that I'm used to. It comes with a repeat chart of the hand, a repeat chart of the cuff, and one of the palm with the gusset. And I just got a bit confused by it, or just wanted to be less, I wanted to be a bit more intuitive, I guess. So I just made my own full chart with the palm and the front fully represented. And I compared that to one of my favorite mittens in terms of the height and roughly the stitch count. And I even ended up knitting it longer. And I don't know if that's because this chart has shorter floats. There's a lot more use of both colors. So it was a bit more work, but it does a perfect fit. And that's something I really like about these mittens, is that you can modify them lengthwise to your hand. And that's something that's really rare in colorwork mittens, because you just can't with the design. You just have to stop when the chart is done. And that's fine, that's just how it is. You can't help it, because you need to achieve the design you need to achieve. But because this is a short repeat that you get time and time again, you can actually make these fit your hands. So if you are having the same kind of mitten fit issues that I've been having, totally recommend this pattern. I absolutely adore it, but maybe try going above gauge just a little bit. I don't have ginormous hands, but I seem to have needed that. So yeah, very happy with these. I look forward to finishing the other one and have some more mittens, and hopefully I can submit these to the NH Knits KAL for colorwork mittens, because I mean I submitted my pattern to a list of discounted colorwork mitten patterns for the KAL, so I should be knitting out a pair as well. I mean, it's like the perfect KAL for me. So yeah, close up before I put them away, and there we are. And oh my god, the Latvian braids, you guys, they are so pretty and so worth it despite all the pain of doing them. Oh, and I almost forgot, I have started the second one. There's no second mitten syndrome, and I have done one Latvian braid. It's not focusing, but you get the idea. I really have suffered from castanitis this week. I really have. There's another project, and it's right here. It is my hap. So I mentioned earlier that I was gonna knit a hap of all the BFL Masham yarn that I got from Laxton Limited at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, because I got the remaining 8 DK skeins of theirs. And of course it could be a lovely garment. I could play around with dyeing because it's undyed. I don't know, it has this lovely marbled effect that would be amazing, but I'm like, I want a hap. I was going to buy yarn for a hap, albeit a Shetland yarn, a light fingering weight, but hey, this is what I ended up with, so it's going to be a much more heavier hap. So we have this rather big square right now. I am just about to round it up here. It's not quite done. And then I'm going to pick up all the side stitches, the little loops that it creates, and I will start making the feathers and fan stuff. And I think I'm going to do a lot more feathers and fan that the pattern suggests. Did I mention the pattern? It's the Hansel hat by Gudrun Johnston. Now, as some of you might remember, in my previous episode I said I was going to do the Modder Die by Kate Davis, and right after recording I had a look at the Modder Die pattern, and it's knit from the border in, and I'm just not into that because I don't know if I have enough yarn. I don't know how it will knit up differently with this yarn in terms of meterage, and it just sounds like a pain. I want it to be more modifiable, and if you knit it from the inside out you can grow it as you see fit on the go, and so I think Hansel is more for me this time around, and I'm happy to try the Modder Die another time. I mean, the pattern's not going to go anywhere, I have it. So I got the Hansel pattern and very happy with it so far. You just start knitting from this corner here, make an increase per row, and then you end up with this long row here where you have your maximum stitch count, where you start decreasing again towards this point that I am now. So yeah, very pleasant, knits up fairly quickly. I mean, I'm knitting on needle size 6, and I was kind of unsure about the needle size. I started out by needle 5, and then I did another one at needle 6. And this is actually something I can recommend for swatching, is starting this kind, because you start with the ones that you make an increase, you start another one and you increase as a triangle, and you have a swatch where it's, at some point you can measure your gauge. You can just soak it while on the needle and you can measure your gauge at that little section you have grown. And I did that for needle size 5 and 6, and found that the 6 was very loose, and I was worried if it was gonna like stretch out too much and be much more of a web with the whole size of the hap, whereas the 5 size was more tight. But I realized, you know, I'm gonna want to fold this up double and have it around my neck and on my shoulders, and for that I needed to be a bit more flexible and softer and squishier, and so needle 6 it is. And it is so squishy and smells so sheepy, and just, can you just get a sense of the squishiness of this? Just, oh my god. Oh, yeah, I'm finding my love for garter again. It's been gone for years, now I'm all over it. Oh. So it's not a pattern that I expect to be done with anytime soon, but it's a pattern that's entertaining me, and just like the Lovely Leaf shawl, I can bring it anywhere and concentrate on the conversation more so than the project. And that's probably the reason I'm not made much progress on the Lovely Leaf shawl, because I just wanted to make the hap, and I have a bit of a post-Edinburgh knit panic because I just want to knit up all my yarn to make sure I'm back to my usual stash size, which was already quite unacceptably large. So So I forgot actually in my last episode to include something in my haul, as it wasn't enough already. So I told you my mum had sent me a skein I was lacking to finish my lovely leaf shawl, and along with that she'd also sent a magazine I had asked her to buy for me while it was still out, and it is this. So it's looking pretty awful, not gonna lie. It looks like, you know, a very sort of cheap version of the Knitted magazine, and it's, oh, this is not a great way of introducing it. It is actually quite great. It's a Norwegian magazine. So the name of the magazine is actually up here. It's the Familien, which is the family, which is kind of very old-fashioned housewife-oriented magazine. It's not for me at all, but they do amazing knit pattern editions from time to time, and this Kofted is focused on cardigans, and this huge success that they had doing this edition 2 years ago. I mean, it was so huge they did it again the year after, and they did it again this year, and I have every magazine of when they do that, so it's just full of amazing cardigan patterns. Let's just give you an overview here. I mean, there are all these. I mean, they're not all my taste personally, but you get so many amazing patterns for very, very little value. I mean, look, oh, this is amazing. I think this one's up on Ravelry actually, so you can have a look. Oh, so good. It's the traditional fana, which is like one of the must-haves. I feel like if you start knitting as a Norwegian, the first thing you have to do is make a marius. Second thing you need to do is have a traditional satistar kofte. Once you've done that, I mean, you need to have either fana or voss, I feel. I should make a voss. I don't know if you know what voss looks like, but it's like, I made a pillow of it. I can show you the pillow I made. So it's a cardigan with that pattern. Oh, I think this one is pretty amazing. Oh, and I love these. They're brilliant. So not all the cardigans I've shown you are actually included as patterns, but most of them are actually. I'm so in love with this one. It is stunning. And here's another one. I mean, I could go on and on. This is probably going to bore you at some point, but I mean, it's just, no, there's another one. I already have this one in its own booklet, but I'm sorry if it didn't focus. I am just like gushing over this wealth of patterns that you get in these magazines. It's just like, yeah, it's like the Knitters magazine, and you get so much, and there's like no way you can knit up all this in your lifetime. This is Vanya. She's an independent designer from Norway, and her designs, she's a bit, oh, she's like such a knowledge base. She's got a Norwegian YouTube tutorial channel if anyone's interested. Yeah, her cardigan is not quite my taste. It's pretty close, but there's just something that's quite not me. But I just completely trust in her skills and knowledge. She knows cardigan, kofte construction like nobody else. So yeah, that was like the first half is just pictures of the pattern. Last half is the patterns, and as you can see, it's like traditionally Norwegian, very sparse in terms of instructions. They are made to take up as little space as possible and trust that you know what you're doing. So it's, yeah, what you can expect from Norwegian patterns, I'm afraid. But yeah, very happy to have that. I don't know if I'm gonna knit anything from it, but you can't not buy them when you get that much in just a little magazine. Now, so I mentioned that the Skeindeer's following has grown tremendously the past week. It is much to do with the whole Edinburgh thing. I've been popping up in various videos. I mean, I'm still kind of hesitant. I mean, you know how I feel about self-promotion online. I just can't make myself say, oh, you should check out my podcast. And I find it really hard to do so in real life as well. But I managed to sort of squeeze out of me eventually saying, you know, I have a podcast as well. And then people were just more than happy to have me in their videos. And so because I'm popping up here and there and everywhere on YouTube now for the knitting community, people have found my podcast, and that is something that makes me very happy and grateful. Yeah, welcome on board. And so we will probably hit 2,000 subscribers soon. It's just going that way right now. I don't even know when we passed 1,500, and because I'm not paying that close attention anymore, I'm just kind of baffled by the whole thing. But I don't want this to be a giveaway focused podcast. I know a lot of people who are starting out feel like they can't do anything podcast because they can't afford giveaways and stuff. And of course the bigger podcasts can, because either they are older than me and actually have a real job and can make money and buy yarn, or they are actually gifted yarn that they give away, and they promote the yarn in return. I am not that kind of podcaster. I'm still quite small, and I don't want new podcasters to feel like that's something you need to do to have a podcast about knitting. So I don't think I will be having giveaways for any of these milestones, but I want to say how grateful I am still. But I will have a just sort of random giveaway right now, because Lily of Nordic Stitches podcast has just published her shawl pattern, and she gave me one and she wants to give you one. So I will open a thread on Ravelry where you can do something to win it. I'm gonna write it in the thread because I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna put a picture of the shawl here. Lily told me about this shawl when she was still making it, and even then it sounded really intriguing because, as you can see in the picture, it is a very wearable shawl, and it's just something that seems to be a bit rare nowadays. Not to criticize any pattern or anything, but I find it difficult to style many of the really trendy shawls nowadays because they are very extravagant and exciting and amazing. But I sometimes just like a simple triangle I can just put around my neck, like, and it's coming down here. And this is exactly that, and it looks really nice and cozy. And of course that's the name, it's hygge. And it's just funny when you live in East London, because the word hygge has been coming up for like the past 5 years, and I was like taking the word by storm. So yeah, just running up that pattern announcement, you can win that. There will be one winner that I will draw randomly based on, yeah, just you having written whatever I asked you to write on the Ravelry page. So I'm gonna call it the hygge giveaway, and you can find it there. And just read the first topic in terms of what you need to do to enter. Okay, cool. This is very improvised, but thank you so much, Lily, for submitting your hygge shawl. But yeah, I find the whole hygge thing a bit funny because it's like, it's so huge now, and people talk about it as like a way of life and Scandinavian living and how we are the happiest people in the world, because Norway is just deemed the happiest people in the world despite its spiking suicide rate. Go figure. I mean, I'm sure we are very happy. We have a lot of resources. We have a, you know, society that kind of takes care of each other, albeit sometimes, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail. It's not picture perfect is what I'm trying to say. But it's pretty good. I'm very grateful to be from Norway. And so we have this now big hygge trend coming from Denmark. That's how it's being pitched. But really, it came from London. I'm living in East London. I've lived here for the past half decade now, and the pushing of the word hygge mainly came from here. It came from, you know, there are lots of little Swedish cafes around here. They've been pushing it on their like storefront signs, and Scandinavian Kitchen continuously published these lists of Scandinavian words everybody should have in their language, and this is what hygge means, this is what kos means, and this is what pålägg means. It's like, I think it's cool, I like it, there's nothing bad about it, but what happened was that recently publishers took this idea and went with it and took it to the world. And it's just a word, like, it's a nice word. It's from Danish, means a sort of sense of warmth and coziness and relaxation, you know, sitting down when you're knitting in a cup of tea. It's actually kind of funny, if you're from Norway, it takes on a bit more of a formal meaning. What I mean by that is, it's something you don't necessarily say if you are drowning in your sofa with a tea. It's something that you more say if you have met someone and you say, it was nice to meet you. Or if you have been in a company of maybe your colleagues after work and you say, yeah, that was nice. It's hyggelig, hygge. But that's coming from Denmark, because the role Danish language has had in Norway has been for the upper class. You know, Danish people were seen as better people because they were above Norwegians. You know, we were under Danish rule, and the Danish were more of a sort of culture-rich country. You know, was more connected with the rest of Europe, was connected with Germany, which was all the range back then. And so yeah, you would just find a people if you could speak more Danish. And so if you used the word like hygge, you were a bit more like, you know, you had your, it has the same meaning as it does in Danish, but you sort of say it with a straight posture. Does that make sense? Now, of course, Lily is referring to the Danish original meaning, and that's totally fine. But I just find I'm using that. It has same meaning but slightly different context depending on the language. And I don't know if this is like entertaining to any of you guys, but I find that, yeah, kind of interesting. And so what we use instead, at least in my region, where we are perhaps a bit less influenced by the Danish language, is that we say kos. So koselig. You can see how it's related to cozy, but you wouldn't use koselig in the exact same way, because you know when people make a nice sweater, they say it's cozy. I don't think anyone in Norway would refer to a sweater as koselig unless it looks particularly aesthetically hyggelig. I don't know. So unless it has the aesthetics of kos, then you wouldn't say that. You don't say that about something that's just warm. So that's kind of how it's a bit different, but yeah, language. So I am about ready to stop talking about knitting. I would very much like to talk about something that's completely unrelated. So if you are happy just watching this for the knitting stuff, then I'm done. Thank you so much for watching. What I'm going to get into now is the concert I went to last week. So I went to see my favorite band for the 17th time. So that sounds a bit extreme. Actually, I saw them for the first 9 times my first year in London, because they kept coming back to London several times. It was just crazy. So, I mean, there was one week they did 4 concerts in a row. So this is the Devin Townsend project, and they are a Canadian band. They are from Vancouver. It's a metal band, but I wouldn't let that, you know, scare you off if you're not into metal. Of course, if you're not into it, you're not gonna like them. That's totally fine. But they're not your stereotypical metal band. They are more than anything really fun. They're not a comedy band, but they're just fun. You feel really good about them. It's a feel-good band. It is heavy, but it's also so catchy that while it doesn't compromise on the heaviness, you kind of forget that it is. The melodies are really good and songs have meaning, even though I'm not gonna bother with what the meaning is, because that's not any of my business. It's just real, it's genuine music that makes me very happy, and it's made by people who are just nice. I came across this, I sound like such a fangirl now. I actually came across this band when I was kind of done with idolizing bands, and like I was really into this other band before that I'd posters of everywhere, but when I came across this band, I was kind of over that, and I just cared about the music. So first time I actually went to see them live, I didn't know what they looked like, and eventually I did realize it was them, and had a chat with the main singer, and he was always been super lovely and just remembered me ever since, which has been very nice. And so yeah, 17th time, you guys, and this was in the Hammersmith Eventim Apollo venue, which is quite fancy, and they performed their whole debut album in full, and it was just perfect. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, I realized this is my very personal niche interest. I just kind of wanted to share how much this band has meant to me throughout. So the other very reason I moved to London, which sounds a bit weird, I guess, I didn't move to London because of them, but I went to see them in Oslo in a year I had in Norway where things weren't great. And when I went to see them in Oslo, things just became a bit more positive. It was such a positive experience that I went to London to see them for just this 3-song performance thing they did at the Golden Garden Metal Hammers Award, and it was really nice. And I came back to Brighton and Southampton to see their acoustic shows, so it's just the lead singer doing that, and it took me out of this existence. I was kind of negative. My dog had just died. I didn't get into the academic course I wanted. So it just kind of lifted up my mood, and I realized I need to be somewhere else. Going abroad had made me happier. So I decided on a whim to move to London. It wouldn't have happened if it weren't for this band. I didn't move to London to see this band as many times as I ended up doing after that, but they kind of took me out of my existence, and I am, even though it's not like intentional from their side, of course, they have no idea, I am very, very forever grateful for having changed my life in such a profound way. And it was like if I was stranded on a desert island and I only had to listen to one band forever, it would totally be them, and it wouldn't even be that bad. I wouldn't get sick of it. There's just such a wealth of music and styles. I think a lot of people have trouble getting into them, even if they are into metal, because the first song they came across maybe weren't their style, but there might be plenty of songs that are, because there's just such variety And so I'm just gonna round it up now. That's all I had to say about that band. I just think they were awesome, and I'm gonna maybe include some footage or a video of what they performed just briefly. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. I hope it was totally fine that I included something a bit outside of knitting for this episode. I am, of course, as ever, super grateful that you were watching, that you have maybe subscribed, and yeah, just join in the Ravelry group for the KAL that we're doing for the giveaway that I'm gonna have. And I will see you next week. Bye!